Welcome to the Eussen Designer Speaker Series with Billy Blue College of Design at Torrens University. Today we're talking with Mark Gacesa from Ultraspace, who is an architectural interior designer. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you, John. How are you doing?
Very well. Great to have you with us. And you've flown in from the Sunshine Coast to be here especially, so we really value the time that you're giving us here today. Tell us about Mark Gacesa. How did Mark get into the interior design industry?
That's a way back question, that one. I actually come from a line of interior designers, well, one anyway. My father's a now retired interior designer, so I grew up with interior design. Probably from a very early age, around about when I was about probably 7 years old, I wanted to become an architect, right through to senior. And then for some reason, right when I was filling out my forms for university, I put architecture second and interior design first, and that was the first year that interior design had been offered at university in Queensland. So something happened and I jumped at the chance, and here we are.
What's the difference between that, an interior designer or an interior decorator?
Generally, interior decoration is definitely based around the decorating of a space where, and using fabrics and articles and things like that that exist, and you're putting them together, paints and wall finishes, to create a look. An interior designer basically can take that to the next level where they're doing that. Decoration is always a part of interior design, full stop. But the interior designers basically take that decoration to the next level, and they're implicating other factors like lighting and also doing cabinetry design and things like that. What I do is I also, which is partly what interior designers do, I also create and manipulate spaces, so I'm able to sort of do all of that side of things as well, internally and externally, right. And then liaise with the correct facilitators of those, being draftspeople and that to assist through to the council side of things.
Okay, so it's a build from an interior perspective. Oh, actually external as well, from what you're saying.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So the course that you studied was architectural interior design. Where did you do that?
I did that up in QUT. It started at QIT, and the transition happened through to QUT. So I have a Bachelor of Applied Science, Built Environment, Interior Design.
Right. With the education that you have now got, what do you feel it gave you when you to enter the industry?
It was a very good basis of everything. It was complicated for me though in my experience of university because I'd grown up with it. So I had a very big and broad grounding of design. And I'd worked with a couple of other, besides my father, I'd also, initiated work with other designers and stuff as well. So, I really had quite a good, I suppose, skeletal system of design within that then, university was able to sort of blossom other parts, and I learned other things from other experts. I was also very fortunate while I was at uni, I was, I suppose, headhunted by one of the large architectural firms because we got in the finals with an open architectural and interior design competition that was open to professionals, and a friend of mine at uni and I entered, and we were right up there, and this one of the heads of interior design at a large architectural firm offered me a job part-time while I was at uni.
And that was clearly the beginning of many awards, which we'll get into, because I know you've won a number along the way. What advice would you give to somebody listening to our interview about wanting to get into design, and what sort of education do you think they require today for today's world?
Great question. I think that people wanting to get into interior design need to be real about what they would like to do, because there are so many different paths that you can take within interior design and specialise in when you're studying, that if you want to be a decorator and you love putting things together and you love like that side of stuff, you don't go to university to get a commercial degree. So you then source the right, I suppose, teaching facility to be able to give you the right tools when you're finished, and not superfluous ones, I suppose.
So your degree qualified you for both residential and commercial work?
No, not so much. Like really, my degree was pretty much commercial.
Right.
So while it did touch on things like cabinetry and all of those and lighting, which of course are in both, it was reasonably heavily commercial based, and you find a lot of people that go through uni end up sourcing commercial jobs. I'm very fortunate because I do commercial interior design, hospitality, and all the restaurants, clubs side of things, and I do very high-end residential as well. So I've got a very broad, I suppose, palette of work that I'm able to do.
Yeah. With the degree, is it easier to transition from commercial to residential or residential to commercial, or is it not? You need a speciality for both.
If you're good at what you do, if you're a good interior designer, you should be able to transition. But it is difficult primarily because it's a totally different system, and there's entirely different products. With one of the lucky things that I get to do is because I do all of it. A lot of people say that there's a lot of my high-end residential work, there's lots of reflections of commercial design within residential design, which makes my work quite different to a lot of it. It's not straight residential because I take a lot of elements from everything and sort of glue them together.
And I've followed your work. I've seen what you do. It's your spectrum is so varied, which is why we're talking to you today. You do everything from fit outs to creating sculptures and the landscaping to the build. You do the whole spectrum. Is that something you always intended to do, or has it just grown organically?
I think that's something I always intended to do. I think that when you're really passionate about design, my passion doesn't stop at a point. My passion goes endlessly. So there is nothing I need to. Some people call it control freak. I maybe it is, but it's part of the passion and wanting to and having an overall picture in your mind of what the project, no matter how big or small, what that end picture is. Yes. And when you know what the end picture is, you're wanting to control every aspect
along the way
of the design, so that everything from, whether it be interior, lighting, but then as you mentioned, landscaping through to, I was even out on trucks out in a quarry selecting metre-high boulders and things like that, hand-picking them in a massive quarry because I was designing this sculptural garden for a client, and I knew exactly in my head what I wanted. So I was on this massive truck with a hard hat on and pointing and a big orange vest and actually working out and selecting what I wanted, and that's really taking it right down, isn't it?
But I think that's the passion I see in your design, is that you're very hands-on, and the message there is get out there and do the dirty work and make sure that you are in control, because at the end of the day, it's your client that's actually the one you're trying to please, not yourself. So to be in control and deliver is what we're expecting. Yes. You're also based on the West Coast in the States. You've been over there for a while now. What's the link between the US and Australia?
I love the US. I love the West Coast. There's an excitement over there that I enjoy. I have some great connections over there. I'm doing more and more work. It's finding the time to get over there and do things. I've got colleagues that I work with over there, so I'm able to work remotely, and I go over as often as I can and do the things. But there's an excitement over there. The good thing about the USA as well is that they have an amazing array of product and labour. So you really are able to do a lot more easily when it's hard yards here in Australia trying to get all of these. If you've got your bar set way up, having to import things and that all the time, which is what I do, you have to roll with it.
It's a numbers game, isn't it? At the end of the day, yeah. What's one of the projects you feel most proud of that you've done here?
There are many. I've done some amazing high-end residential projects. Probably the one that the residential project that stands out the most would be the Lux Lodge project. It took quite a number of years. That was actually the project where I was out in the quarry and then on the bobcat placing the things in the garden with the that project was amazing. The client it was a weekender for my client, and
of course it was.
Of course, yes, with the helipad and all. But it was an amazing project, and it was one of those projects that it did. I was lucky enough for my peers to acknowledge it well and truly across the board with many awards. It won a lot of awards.
Yeah. Now, on that note, you have won a number of awards. Give us some insight into that.
Oh, shucks, John.
Well, it's true. I mean, this is your moment. I mean, celebrate them.
Yeah. Look, it's really nice to win awards because it is recognition from your peers. So it is a lot of people blow it off and so, but it really is a nice thing to gain recognition from your peers. I'm not sure. There's a list on my website. I think it's over 50.
Oh, you've been very, very humble about this, aren't you?
Yeah, there's over 50. There's winning Queensland. I am, I suppose, being humble, but I'm very proud of it as well.
Yeah, so. As you should be, which is why we wanted to mention that. In regard to Australian design, how do you think we compete on a global basis? How do you think we're recognised?
I think we're recognised quite well. Yeah, the work that we are doing here, really on an international scale, is fantastic. The budgets that we have here, in the main, are not as high as some of the budgets in the USA and Europe, but we are for what we're able to achieve, we're achieving quite well, I feel.
One of the things I like about your design is that, you have a handwriting, but it's Mark's handwriting. It's an ultra space handwriting. And you don't tend to follow trend. I think you create your own trend. That's my interpretation. As far as trend goes, do you think, what is the Australian style? Is there such a thing?
Wow.
I like the way you can't answer that because you don't follow that.
No,
so clearly,
it is. I really have to think about that because it is me, maybe skimming across. If I'm in a newsagent and I'm looking at magazine covers or something like that. If I pick up a magazine that I know that I'm in, and I'm flicking through and I can see other people's work. I try very hard to not follow what other designers are doing.
I think that's what I wanted to hear because that's what I know you to be.
Yes.
So what do you describe your style as then?
I would like to think that my style is very original. I know that when I get asked this question, it's a hard one to answer, and I don't have a roll off the tongue answer for this one because every day I think of it differently depending on what project I'm working on. So it's definitely usually quite glamorous. It's very bespoke. It's very customised. A lot of taking the Lux Lodge project, for example, there was very little in that project that I purchased. Most of the things that were in that entire house were custom designed and made. And that's what I love. I love to be able to have a handle on exactly what things are going to be looking like and creating something for the client, rather than buying a Louis XV armchair, which is beautiful and can be used very well, but someone else designed that. And I would prefer that I design something, because that designer, whoever designed that, I don't know, I'm ashamed to not know who designed it, but it's one of those things where other designers and decorators are using product that exists. I try not to do that. That's why I try not to follow other designers. Well, I don't follow other designers. I don't read a lot of magazines to get ideas and things like that. I want to create them myself. I want to be a designer. Absolutely, and that's my advice to people that are wanting to get into the industry. Yes, you can. Many people follow designers and they have their favourites and all that sort of stuff, but you don't want to replicate anything. We've already got them. We've got that. We've got that design area. We've got that genre. We've got all of those things that person created. Be yourself and create things yourself and be the designer.
Yeah. What are some of the experiences you think that that the people are now, I guess, they're seeking? We went through the period where we wanted pavilion living because we all loved to go to Asia and visit Bali and all the exotic places that provided that sort of that ambiance. We wanted the 5-star hotel in our home, so we all put the en-suites in with the big spas, etc. So we're living experiences in our homes. Hamptons is another feel that everybody wants to live with. Do you think there's another experience that's actually infiltrating us at the moment, or can you see what that might be?
Again, it's hard to answer that one because I'm sort of not following, but I don't know. It's one of those things where a little bit of the minimalist thing is still around. It's been around a little bit, and it keeps drifting in and out of styles. Keep on getting injected into, and then because they're fads. They fall away. Minimalism is still in there. Then something else comes in, and when in Europe last year at the big design fairs, there was a lot of organic things coming through, and that muted pink that was very much in vogue last year and at the beginning of this year, and I think it's starting to already fade out. You'd remember it. It was from the late 80s, early 90s.
Thank you.
I remember it.
We're actually age neutral here. You've just blown it.
Okay, yeah.
But I do remember.
I also remember it as well. But so I mean, there was that sort of earthy, organic thing with brasses and bronze, age brass and bronze and all of those things, and they're all here, and they're going to hang around. They are going to hang around for a while, all of those finishes.
Mark, you spoke about we asked you what one of your favourite experiences was, and Lux Lodge was clearly one of those. What other projects have you worked on that you're proud to talk about?
Another amazing residential project that I did that was equivalent to a 6-story house. It was an amazing project. Again,
a 6-story house.
It was an existing 3-story and lower level, and then we actually built a new full on the block next door, a full 2-story house attached to. So I had to meld the old and the new, even with different ceiling heights and things like that. It was a very complicated project. And it was great. There's like a $70,000-$80,000 chandelier hanging from the dome of the grand entrance.
Well, of course there was.
Absolutely.
We're talking 6 stories here.
But I mean, it was an amazing project. But I mean, away from residential, I've done some great hospitality. In fact, just recently, with one of my clients that I've already done a multi-award-winning restaurant for. They've decided to open up not a restaurant but a bar that had great food. So they wanted to put a different spin on how they operated, and it is fantastic. It's an amazing project, and it's winning the hearts of everybody at the moment, and it's only been open for a week and a half. Wow. So And
what a great result. I mean, at the end of the day, that's
Absolutely.
what you want, isn't it? From a design perspective, you want the client to be happy, but more the point, you want the ambience to actually reflect what I guess what the mission was. And if that's to attract custom.
Yeah, absolutely. And from an interior design point of view, and people wanting to get into it, on a residential level, it's a very private thing. I mean, you get to, if the project is at that level where you're wanting to share it with everybody, and if it is lucky enough to win awards and all of that, it gets traction and people get to see it and marvel in something that is very private.
Yes.
When you're doing interior design that is hospitality or commercial, obviously it's for the public. So it's a whole different realm, and you have to attack it from a whole different aspect. One of my major philosophies is to become your client. Like, as a good designer, you need to become your client. You can't have, and this is where I get confused about people that have a straight style. I mean, that works when somebody is coming to you because they want that style and that. But for somebody who isn't sure and they just want something and they're not, you need to be able to mold yourself and become them as fast as you can, and then show them things that they couldn't have imagined.
That's so true. It's about the psychology of interiors, isn't it? It's not the psychology of interiors, really. It's about the psychology of the person and understanding, because they're living in that environment.
Yeah.
How many times do you hear where people go to have the service of a designer or an architect and they go, it's just not me? Well, you know what? You've got the wrong designer.
Yeah.
What you're saying is so true, because you are the true designer that actually is reflecting what they want. So you're reading that client.
Yeah, I feel you're failing if you're not doing that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But if it's a hospitality or a commercial job, a lot of people think that that's easier because you don't have the personal touch that's invested in what they're wanting, but that's not true at all. People that are in a commercial or a hospitality situation, I mean, the one that I just mentioned, that bar, it really is a very personal thing for the owners, and it's very driven. And again, you need to become the client. On a commercial job where you have, 1,000 square meters or something like that, and you're dealing with some people, the people that you're dealing with still are very invested because they're charged by their bosses to be, looking after this. Yeah. So they are very invested in what's going on. So, there are. I'm lucky enough to work for a couple of Australia's large, very large companies in Australia, and one is a hospitality company, and the other one is a service in the services industry. And I get to do all of their offices around Australia and all of that, and it is fun. It's just fun. And so on the commercial level, a lot of people get to see it and enjoy, and you can have a lot more fun and be slightly whimsical, I suppose, and creative on that side, whereas it's a lot more personal on the residential.
Yeah, yeah. What about, I almost hate to use the word trend now, but I will. In regard to, this is really on a global sense, there is this movement towards downsizing and apartment living. Have you got involved with apartment living projects? Is that a big part of what you do, or do you see it growing?
Yeah, no, I have. Some here in Australia and overseas. Here in Australia, I've relocated. I've done a couple of houses for, a particular client, and then they downsized to an apartment. So I had to take them through that journey, and it was great.
What advice would you give somebody that's going through that or thinking about going through that? It's a big step.
You have to let it go.
That's easier said than done.
Yeah, it is. I was working for a couple in LA, and he was a forensic accountant, and they had a massive mansion in Beverly Hills, and they downsized to a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment and in Century City, and that was interesting. I mean, they were fantastic clients. I think they were Egyptian, and they were just amazing. But it was that journey of having all of this amazing big furniture that was from a mansion, and having to work out how to place things and picking things that had to stay and go, and no, I need to hold on to that. It's like, okay, well, we'll make that work. And So it is one of those things of the downsizing.
It's almost restarting, isn't it?
It is. It's you have to make that commitment to go, okay, I'm going to downsize and I need to let go. I'm not sure. I would find it difficult.
No, but it's the collectibles, and it makes you realise that in life we have this abundance of collectibles, and when you actually move on to that next stage, it becomes more about living experiences as opposed to collectibles. We're getting off the track a little bit, but from a design perspective, it does change how you live in an environment, and it's where you need the expertise to guide you as to how to do that. And it's very relevant because we're an ageing society, and it's only going to grow, isn't it?
Absolutely, and it is that again. It is the interior designer that's assisting the client. The interior designer needing to become the client and understand them, because if they don't do that, they just can't help effectively.
Exactly. Yeah. So where's Mark Gacesa heading today?
I suppose that I'm enjoying the journey that I'm on at the moment. I'm wanting to try to taper what I'm doing to be able to hone down to the projects that I'm in love with and the clients that I'm in love with, and also to try and source some of the fantasy jobs, private jets. I know people over there that have got private jets, so I'm after you. And those sorts of things, working with people on yachts and doing mansions in the Hollywood Hills and things like that. That's where I'm targeting.
Well, they're very real experiences, and it's very real world. And
absolutely.
Yeah. So if somebody's looking to engage an interior designer, what advice would you give them?
I would, obviously research is important, and finding elements of people's designs that you like and seeing things that they're able to do and able to adapt. If you're after a straight design style, then you just need to find someone who does that. But if you're after someone to create something for you that maybe either doesn't exist or just to be creative, it is all about trying to find somebody that is able to adapt and become their client. And,
I love your delivery, because you clearly become part of your client's life, which is what I guess what we're talking about is you need to understand you've got to be them, not you. But that's one of your specialities, and I've seen that in your work as well. So I guess that's a really strong point of what Ultraspace is about. So Mark, how do people engage Ultraspace or find Ultraspace if they want to work with you? Well,
we have actually just launched a new website. So that's www.ultraspace.com.au or markgacesa.com. And I'm excited about it because it really portrays what our business is about. I'm genuinely excited about it. It's a very new, souped up version of what the old one was that I liked. But yeah, the new one's great, and we're going to be uploading some great projects that no one's seen yet as well. So, yeah.
And social media as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, under Ultraspace.
Yeah.
Mark, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your honesty and your delivery today, and obviously sharing the integrity behind the Ultraspace brand. It's been great to hear your story. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
You make